supporting this event. Again, this is an event for our benefit show to bring people to Cambodia for another cohort. It's our 5th time to go to Cambodia this fall of 2018. And check out our raffle prizes. I'm buzzed, by the way. Thank you, Stephanie, for securing about $500 worth of raffle prizes. Please check them out. Buy tickets, help support this work. We're going to talk more about this work later. So I'm going to introduce someone who's been on the Spean Rajana trip with us before in 2016. His name is Chris Bendix. He's also part of Pearl of Asia. If you don't know, Chris is really dedicated and committed to supporting the work that we all are doing for the Khmer community. Chris, give it up for Chris.
Thanks. Yeah, I went on a trip with the Spean group in 2016, and my project is to help preserve this music that I've been playing because it's really rare. A lot of the records were destroyed in the 70s. I have a partner I work with, and we go around the world looking for the music and meet different collectors that have saved these records over the years. And so in some cases, like, we found a record that we've never seen before, or like it might be the only copy that is left. So that's kind of our project, to try to help preserve the history of that period of time in Cambodian music. And like going to Cambodia as part of Spean, it enables us to meet more people there, connect with groups that know more information and have resources. And so it's important to our little corner of what we do, but overall, like, there's a lot of different pursuits the group fulfills with film and social justice, all kinds of arts. It's a really meaningful experience, so glad for all of you to be here to help promote that. So I'm going to play some more songs, buy some drinks, some food, tip your bartender, and pretty soon we'll have some live performers up here. So stick around. Thank you.
Thank you, and make sure you check out the raffle tickets. So by 7:30, we're going to start another type of program. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate all the work people have been doing. I'm going to give a little background on Spean Rajana and talk a little bit more about the history and where we're going with this project. So again, welcome. My name is Sumit Bell. I am the director of Spean Rajana, and Spean Rajana is formerly Rajana Society. We value culture, creativity, and generations. And our vision is to be the leading force in advancing Khmer arts worldwide. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and establish artistic creations through programs and partnerships. The Spean project grew out of Rajana Society in 2005 and 2007 when we conceptualized and implemented the Spean Rajana project. Spean means bridge, Rajana means artistic creations. So Spean Rajana translates to bridge to artistic creations. In 2013 and 2014, I resurrected this project and co-founded its next step into a Khmer arts and civic organization. Since then, we have been involved in various arts and civics programming in Seattle and Cambodia. A couple of the most memorable ones that we have been involved with are, we hosted a community assessment and visioning with the Cambodian American community of Washington State, and developed a one-pager around the needs and challenges of the community solutions that this workshop provided. We also provided voter registration and workshops to more than 75 students. We registered people at temples, casinos, at ethnic Seattle community spaces. We also took part in the direction and leadership for the Wingloop Asian Museum's Naga Shedded Skin Khmer American exhibit. We also produced and hosted a Khmer mixer at Wingloop Asian Museum with guest speakers and lawmakers, including Congressman Adam Smith and many community leaders. We've co-hosted a film called First They Killed My Father, alongside the UW Southeast Asia Center with the support from Jenner Grant, and as you know, with the attendance of the world-renowned filmmaker director Ritzy Pond in attendance. We provided community direction and policy development on city, county, and state level. we have conceptualized and produced a 3-week arts exhibit and programming at King Street Station featuring more than 25 ethnic artists who speak more than 30 languages combined. And one of the most important things that a lot of you are here for today is our Cambodia delegation, the Spean Rajana delegation to Cambodia. This is in support from a lot of people that have worked in Cambodia and our allies here. And through this program so far, the highlights is we've met with the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts to talk about arts infrastructure. We also sat down and had a meeting with the Apsara Authority. The Apsara Authority is the authority that basically controls or kind of works over Siem Reap, basically. They're in charge of the Angkorian Archaeological Park. And we had a chat with Future Forum. It's the first policy center that has been implemented by Bong Uveret. We had a chat with him around the current policies in Cambodia, discussed issues that were pertinent to them and to us. We also met with Tiny Toons. We've met with the U.S. ambassador, the U.S. Embassy, Ambassador Haidt and his wife Soti. We had chats with the Habitat for Humanity in Cambodia because we do want to create a community center in Cambodia, and we want to make sure that we do it in a way that is affordable. We want to make sure that people aren't displaced. We also had a chance to do some classes with Fair Balusalapak. Thank you, Buntai, for hooking that up. We were able to actually go through the dance classes and go through the whole, the seasonal archetypes of your hand figures. I don't remember that. And so many other artists in Cambodia. So Spean Rajana Cambodia 2018 will be the 5th time going to Cambodia to bridge culture through arts and civics. And we're very excited for the cohort to Cambodia. Cohorts for this year, if you're here, please raise your hand. Thank you. So there's going to be 14 of us that will be going to Cambodia this fall in the end of October to November 12th. And a few people I want to recognize because they've been involved. They've been back with me for the last 2 times. I want to recognize Buntai Chim and Bontida Ross. Please give them a hand. Their leadership is very much valued, and they've done a lot. Thank you so much for your service in helping to support the program. As an organization, we want to recognize that our history is shaped by a very destructive and negative force. The Khmer Kingdom was colonized by the French and influenced by Western imperialism. Our country went through a very brutal regime period between 1975 and 1979. And Cambodia was also secretly carpet bombed by the Nixon and Kissinger administration. And to date, I'm very glad to have Peter here, our friend from FIGHT, formerly incarcerated group Healing Together. Thank you, Peter, for being here. And other allies that are actually in the forefront of fighting against the unjust deportations of Cambodian Americans. Back in 2016, their group actually took 25 people to Cambodia. At the same time, we took about 16 people to Cambodia, and we were able to meet up one night, but we had a bar drink and chat up. So they did some really great work because of FIGHT. That's why Cambodia did not want to take any more deportees, but then the U.S. created sanctions to actually bully them into that. So thank you, FIGHT. Thank you, Peter, for being here. So we know that it's not just right, and that we're also being re-traumatized as a community by this deportation machine. And this is affecting not only Cambodians now, it's affecting the whole Southeast Asia. We want to recognize that there's a huge battle to dismantle institutional and structural racism. We also are aware that there's a huge level of anti-black racism that exists in our community. And despite the fact that many of us, as refugees that came here in the 80s, actually grew up in and were resettled next to black poverty. So it's continually important to remember that our work is not only to revive and build arts in the Khmer diaspora, but we must work to uplift those who need our support, and to dismantle racism, and to strike down white privilege, and to resource what it really means to be Khmer American in 2018 and beyond. We are at a moment of very exponential growth, as a generation and as a country in a globalized world. And we know that climate change not only impacts our communities here in the Northwest, but it has a huge ramification across the globe. It is hitting the Kingdom of Cambodia in very many ways. And we are looking to build knowledge and structure of understanding so that we can provide the type of support and education around the sustainability. That's why I'm really thankful for Stephanie for being involved in the Spean program this year. Thank you, Stephanie. She'll go more into her work soon. So today, your donations and generosity will be supporting a team of 14 people to Cambodia, and this fall. So if any of what I have said resonates with you, I challenge you to give to a project that is very conscientious of making sure that we write our own narrative, and that our project is Khmer-centric, which means that Khmer folks and Khmer culture is at the epicenter. White folks and allies, you stay at the periphery and support, and we love that. We know that with your support tonight, we will make ways for stronger bridges for many people to cross and to experience. So again, please enjoy yourselves. Don't forget that giving is a part of living. And please, because we're also a part of CERC, the Coalition of Immigrant, Refugees, and Communities of Color, do not forget to vote in your primaries. And if you come through the door, you see the pamphlet, it's a guide to voting. You can register to vote anytime now, because the law has changed, right? So remember that your vote counts, your voice counts, and we care about this. And if you care about the way the country is going, make sure you vote. And if you care about the future and what it would be like for your families and for your children that are here, make sure you cast your vote. So Spean Rajana, as I said, is a part of CERC, Coalition of Immigrant, Refugees, and Communities of Color. CERC is holding a candidate forum this coming Saturday, July 21st, from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Eritrean Association in Greater Seattle, where we will have candidates from the 34th District and the 37th Legislative District, which I think we're in the 34th right now. So there's like, 11 or 12 people that's running. It's gonna be important for people to show up and hold them accountable for what they think they'll bring to this district. So again, please enjoy yourselves. I wanna thank you. I wanna thank everybody for being here. And last but not least, I wanna bring Stephanie Ung up. She's gonna talk about the raffles, but I think Stephanie should talk about your work as well around environmental sustainability. Thank you.
As Samit was saying, I am committed to environmental sustainability. My parents, my dad came from Cambodia, my mom comes from the Philippines, both countries in which society and your daily living is right next to environment. And I find that it's important for me to really care and nurture my relationship to the land because it's a healing one. I find that being able to understand that the plants and animals and ecosystems that have been here much longer than my ancestors, and that they have things to teach me, and that a lot of my work revolves around using nature and connection to land, learning about the history, the natural history, the cultural history as a way for healing. With that, I want to share a poem that I've written that I feel like speaks to why I'm a part of Spean Rajana. This is my first engagement with the group, and it's been quite a milestone in my journey towards healing and understanding who I am and where I come from. And then I'll talk about the raffle, because that's exciting too. Blood, passed on from generation to generation. Blood, healing wounds, but never forgetting the past. White blood cells to the rescue. Damn it, why are they white? Platelets clotting to preserve our blood supply. Antibodies fight the fight, then are tucked away in preparation for a second attack. Our blood does not forget. Trauma does not stop at the individual. It is historical. It is intergenerational. It is passed on through the blood from parent to child, mama to fetus in the womb. My blood carries stories of what dad went through in the Khmer Rouge. My blood carries stories of all that mom left behind in the Philippines. My blood carries a lifetime and more of colonization and exploitation. Our blood does not forget. Our blood does not forget because we need it for healing. My blood carries my ancestors with me. My blood carries their resilience with me and the survival of my peoples. Knowing from whom I have blood activates mechanisms of protection that science will never be able to study. Knowing from who I have blood is healing. As a first-generation Asian American, my blood runs deep crimson with the pain of racism, xenophobia, and immigration tension. And because of those, my blood also runs deep crimson with the will to survive and determination to overcome. Mom and Dad say that's what we have to do as Asians. We have to show them that we're here to stay, deserve respect, and they can't look down on us. So when people casually attribute my intelligence, my work ethic to a feature of my race, my blood starts to boil. My blood is further tainted by the smearing of model minority myth, a smattering generalization of the Asian American experience. My blood responds appropriately. Gentle reminders. We have been here before. They do not know what our blood is made of. Do not let them claim anything about our blood when they do not know what our blood is made of. They cannot make claim to our blood if they cannot reconcile that their best attempts to destroy, isolate, turn us on one another have only strengthened us, have only strengthened our blood to pump one more day, one more year, one more lifetime, one more generation. Thank you. Thanks for sitting with that, y'all. So talking about the raffle, in order to raise more funds for Spean Rajana, we've got a ton of raffle prizes in the back. There's 15 total. We've got things ranging from adult tickets to the Museum of Pop Culture. We've got a 30-minute music lesson from Meter Music School. We've got a birthday party at Full Tilt Ice Cream, including making a custom ice cream flavor just for you that you get to take home. Yeah. We've got a year of free bread from Macrina Bakery, so you get one loaf per month. Yeah, that's really good bread, local. We've got a 4-pack of mini cheesecakes from Hood Famous Bake Shop, POC owned cheesecake in Ballard. Let me tell you the flavors: ubi, oh yeah, mango calamansi, coconut pandan, and matcha. So mini cheesecakes in those flavors. There's a ton more in the back. You just go into the back corner that way. The tickets are 1 for $1 or 15 for $10, and if you give me a 20 or give any of us a 20, you'll get 30. So we'll put it all in one big box, and throughout the night we'll be pulling from that box, and you'll get to choose which item. So unfortunately, you won't get to put your tickets in which item, but you could all be a winner because it'll all be in one pot. So check us out in the back, and next I'm going to introduce Bantai so that he can share a little bit more, and then we'll get this party started.
How's everybody feeling? Everybody good? Give me a second, I have to undo this. All right, thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction. And yeah, raffles important. Please, 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 if you have any disposable income, which I bet all you guys do, please help us out. It's a really dope trip, and this is going to be my 3rd time going on the trip, and it's definitely life-changing for sure. I guess I'll talk a little bit about the last couple trips I went on. Actually, the last trip, I think for me, I'd say in the last 10 years, I've kind of traveled all over the place, but what I subconsciously do is actually travel to places where I know that there's family. Here I only have, you know, my brother and sister, and then I have my cousin Chandler right there. So we have a really small family, and growing up I always like wanted like a super big family, because I thought, you know what I'm saying, like Christmas time where you got hella gifts, and, you know, all this and that. So I think when I got older, I really wanted to connect with family. So you know, random trips to Montreal, or flying into Paris for 3 days, or Cambodia, just to name them all, and that's what I've been doing the last 10 years, I would say. And then my second trip in Spean Rajana was last year. We went out there in about August, and when we went, it was about a 2-week trip, but I decided to stay, and it was really a culturally intensive time for me to connect with family. I think I met a lot more people than I knew existed that were part of my family, because you know, like, your parents don't really talk much about history, because oftentimes it's really traumatic. So talking about past memories and past experiences means bringing up, you know, old things that they probably rather like lock up and compartmentalize in a place in their mind that they don't want to bring up again. So this last trip on the Spean Rajana trip was really a deep, you know, in terms of like finding my roots. It really impacted me. Spean Rajana took me to the place of my birth, which is really impactful and really changed me, I think. I was born in Kavidan, in a refugee camp in Thailand. And you know, growing up, I always wondered where I was born and if I ever would ever to go back. And I think, you know, over time, I just thought like, you know, the place is torn down, it doesn't exist anymore. But when I went on my first Spean Rajana trip, there was what really drew me was like the fact that we were going to go there, and that there was actually, I wouldn't call it a museum, but an information center there. So we went there, and I found where the Red Cross Hospital was, and I tried my best to look at that map and kind of in my mind triangulate where that was. And I went there, and I stood there for a bit and really like took that in. And I think the first feeling I got was that, yeah, I love the outdoors, and so I just got back from camping today, but I love the outdoors and I love hiking. So the first thing I thought of was like, you know what, I'm gonna trace my mom's story, and I'm gonna one day hike from where my mom was during the genocide all the way to Kavidan. And it could be like a 10-15 year process, but that's where I really want to. I think that was the first feeling I had. So this is dope work that we do. I think the flexibility within the itinerary and just the program, and just everybody is so, you know, everybody works with each other, allows for the flexibility to really not only like immerse yourself in the culture, but learn about yourself and build character. So I just want to give it up to everybody in Spean Rajana, especially Samaid, for giving me the opportunity, Bangtida for riding out the last couple of years, because you know, we had some really dope experiences. So thank you for that. I also want to, and I should have said this first, thank you Skylark, and thank you to the bartenders, and thank you to the cook back there. You know, if remember to tip well, if they put in work tonight, you know. So thank you for that. And then lastly, we have this is the first in a planned series of fundraisers we have for the summer. The next one is on August 16th at Arc Lodge Cinemas. 8 o'clock, we're going to have a mini film festival called Spean Summer Shorts. We're going to have quite a few filmmakers from the area showcase some of their work, anything from like a 5-minute film to a 40-minute film, but I can't say the lineup yet because it hasn't been confirmed, but it's going to be really dope. So it's going to be another event where you guys can kind of come out and show love and show support for us and for the community for really dope work. Lastly, I got asked to come up here because I'm doing a couple pieces of stories I wrote, and a lot of these stories are connected to me finding my roots. And I'm gonna the first one, I got 2 pieces, and the first one I'm gonna read is something I was inspired by during my last Spean Rajana trip. I think everybody that's Cambodian American that has Cambodian American background know somebody that died in the genocide. And this writing was inspired by my quest to really find out about an older sister that had died during the war, and she had died before I was born. This is the piece. I heard Mott call for you once. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I was walking into the kitchen. Bob was telling me, "Aren't you embarrassed to be drunk in front of your son?" She cried for you in a cracked falsetto, asking where you've been and where you were going. I think that's when I first knew you existed, somewhere, in a space I didn't understand, in the ether there, somewhere, in between the lines with all the other stories of lost sons and missing daughters. Pages of life torn away, but I knew was there somewhere because of the missing chapters in our family's book of recollection. Sometimes, Mott would say that you were the special one, that she found you playing with a cobra once, and she said you smiled answers to the life as you held parts of its body with a mastery only baby Siddhartha would have, maybe to imply that if you were still here, all would be right in this world. I didn't think much of you growing up, maybe because I couldn't conceptualize what an older sister would be like, or would mean to me. I didn't know what you looked like, so it was hard for me to visualize your place in this nuclear family that was going full Chernobyl. Before I left about the bong last, I checked in with Mott to be sure of where you were laid to rest. I told her that I wanted to have Bong Skol perform for you. I asked if she had gone to see you the last couple of times she passed through there. She paused for a bit, staring away from me, searching for words tangled in a struggle of her voice before finally replying. I always forget. When I found you at Wat Mum, it was by accident. I was headed to the lorry and the tuk-tuk driver cut through a Wat complex. I asked which one this was, and he told me, and I immediately pulled out my phone to drop a pin on Google Maps. Several weeks later, I would come back, and as coincidence or maybe fate would have it, it was Pjomben. To be honest, I didn't really know what Pjomben was until I tried to go see you. I stopped by one of the makeshift roadside stalls that sprout up during times like these. They were selling flower arrangements for people to offer their ancestors at the Wat. When I arrived at the Wat, there was no one really there. It seemed odd to me as it was supposed to be a holiday and there was only one monk. He seemed indifferent. I was caught off guard a bit because I thought there would be more. After I told my story, I thought it would sway him into understanding that would bring us closer to breathe life, or at least feel the gravity that pulled me halfway around the world some 30 years later to try to reconnect with a sister that died before I was even born, lost to circumstances and decisions of the world, hoping that a place would remember her hidden name, her name hidden away, way before she could even say it herself. He seemed indifferent. I put my palms together and closed my eyes, listening to him chant from Belay to Khmer and back again to Belay, and sometimes, not sure, when he would transition from the monastic tongue to the native tongue, when he would drift off into this world or the next, or if these words and my silent wishes for you reached to where you now exist. After a few minutes or so, the monk abruptly paused. I kept my eyes closed, but after a few seconds, cracked them open to see why he had suddenly stopped. He turned to look at me and asked me a question. What's her name? I turned away. It took me several seconds to absorb and then process what he had just asked. Then I turned to the monk and I said, "So, Chanti." The sounds of my stories, made up memories I created for you, rushed my feelings, and I could no longer focus on the chanting. I kept thinking to myself, how, after all this time, had I not ever said your name once? After the monk finished, I sat there for a bit thinking of there, about you. As I stepped outside, I felt like I was walking into a different space than I had when I arrived. I found myself wondering what part of the temple you were laid to rest at, where you had been if you knew I was there, or whether you had been accompanying me all along. I never said your name. I finally said your name. Thank you for bearing with me. Once again, tip the bartender and make sure to contribute to the raffle. The next piece is the last piece, and put that one down. So the next piece is something I wrote that's inspired by a conversation with a family member. And as I said before, a lot of times people in the community suffer from undiagnosed PTSD, so it's hard for them to talk about their stories. And recently, this family member opened up, and I'm so grateful that he was able to share with me one of his stories of his time during the genocide, and this story is based on that story that he told me. Do you know how it feels to be hungry? I mean, really, really hungry. Like starving? I can still taste the grit and the dryness that have betrayed my expectations when I took that first bite into that discarded banana peel in the middle of the dirt trail. My stomach was churning in its void. It was full of hollowness. And as it talked to me through long, deep moans and erratic pops, I felt it slowly beginning to turn on its own walls as if it were consuming itself. My days were spent quite lonely. Mom and Dad were far off in the rice paddies, I'd assume, but to be honest, I'm not exactly sure where they were. By sunrise, they had disappeared with all the others into the sinking landscapes of rice fields, and the further they walked, more often than not, it wasn't until the sun went down that I'd see them again. I spent days along these red dirt trails by myself, waiting, thinking, hungry, imagining. There was an old lady, I'm not sure of her age, a real old lady that I'm not even, was supposed to be my caretaker while my mom and dad were out working. She never did, though. The only words uttered my way were, go outside and play. So I spent many days alone, many times accompanied only by my hunger. The only feeling that took the time to stay by my side through the hours of isolation. The only feeling that was strong enough to hold on, strong enough to burrow and place into my gut. Sometimes, most times, I'd stay close to the thatched bamboo houses where we lived and spent all day pacing back and forth along the trail closest to us. Once in a while, I gathered the courage to go beyond just up the woods on the edge of the rice fields. One day, I decided things would be different. This time, I'd walk all the way to the work fields, hoping I'd catch a glimpse of Mom and Dad. As I approached the woods, I decided to take a shortcut through them, and at the same time use it as cover for any Kamigaham overseers. As I made my way through, a man suddenly surprised me. He was leaning against a tree smoking a cigarette, sleeves rolled up, relaxed, with a slight grin of satisfaction as if he just had succeeded in the most kindest of deeds. He was dressed differently, though. He wasn't dressed like a Kamigaham soldier, nor was he dressed like Mom or Dad. Instead, he was draped in all green camouflage. I stood there frozen with surprise. He noticed me after several seconds, turned to me, and gave me a wide grin. Our eyes met, and as it did, he took slower and longer drags of his cigarette. Then leisurely, he took his cigarette from the corner of his lips as if to give them more space to grin. He brought his index fingers to his lips. Hush. I stood there for a few moments and then looked around to try and see what it was that I was supposed to be quiet about. Then I noticed something several feet in front of him. Something with a moist glisten partially covered by black cloth and disordered lumps. As he continued his slow and drawn out puffs of vindication on his cigarette, I slowly took steps closer, cautiously and quietly, to get a clearer picture. When I realized what it was, I stopped dead in my tracks. It was a Khmer Rouge soldier. I could tell by the different flip-flops he was wearing and his cap. It looked nicer than what my parents wore. I stood there in an almost calm disbelief, and rather than feel pity and disgust for what I was looking at, I marveled at how it was possible that a human being could be dismembered and lumped like firewood. It blew my mind. How this managed to happen without detection from anyone, I'll never know. I stood there for a while, wordless as he did, staring at the pile, sharing the silence, interrupted by the occasional sounds of indistinct yelling far from the fields. It was the first time in a long time that I didn't feel hungry.
All right, let's give it up for Batai one more time. Thank you, Batai. Good job. So, there's a lot of energy in the room. There's a lot of people that have very passionate focuses on the Cambodian arts and music. And so I'm supposed to be talking a little bit about what music really means to Khmer folks. I think in 2016, I learned something new when we went to Sipu Kongnei. He's one of the most fascinating Khmer artists. And it was fascinating to me because there is this different genre of music called Plenyaret and Plenka, which Plenka is usually played at weddings, and Plenyaret, please correct me, but it's usually used to exorcise demons. And that's what we've learned from them that day, which was so fascinating how this art form, this type of genre of music, predated Angkorian times. That's what we were told by the high artists that were in that space. And just to have music that can actually exorcise and drive away demons in your body to make you physically well, that was something I was trying to connect with metaphysically, like, how does that even make sense? So to speak here is to look at and see and let you know that Cambodian music has evolved. There's those different genres, and then there's the rock and roll era, the 1950s and 60s, the golden age of Cambodia, and then it went into kind of decline as we were nearing towards 1975. But the most important thing is that I think that music for Khmer folks is a way to heal. It's a way for us to really go back and to strip away the layers of the onions and just to recognize what it means to be Khmer is to have to go through and listen to all of those decades of musics. And there's a huge archive in Cambodia around this work. And there's work that Chris is doing, and DJ Oro. If you know DJ Oro, his other half that's doing work around the world, one of the only two people that are really working to preserve Khmer music, Khmer vintage music. And I think that we're at a very pivotal moment where we need to continue to support Khmer arts and music as it's actually being evolved right now. Because from my opinion, Cambodian music in the 50s and the 30s are more Khmer-centered. It's from Khmer people. Music nowadays in Cambodia, unfortunately, has been commercialized. So you see that people were taking tunes from other cultures and just putting Khmer lyrics onto it. That to me is a form of, I don't want to say fake music, because I don't want to, talk about what that really means. But to me, it's really important that we continue to uplift the golden era, the golden age, and that music, period, which is part of the music that you will be hearing tonight and part of the music that will be being played and being sung by our singers here. It's one of those things that will always be in the metaphysics of our blood, the dynamics of our culture, the things that institutions and structurally, these type of institutions cannot mechanize, if that's even a word, to actually get through. So I want to bring up singers that are here to support us. They're going to showcase some of their skills. But before that happens, I have to put in another one. Please buy raffle tickets. So I want to bring up Bang Nat, Bang Rat, and Monica to the stage, our singers for tonight. Please give them a round of applause.
Missing somebody.
Alright guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight and for coming out here to support the Rajana Society on all the great work they have done and that we'll be doing on this next trip to Cambodia. And tonight what we have prepared for you is a bunch of songs that you will see if you ever go to like a Cambodian wedding or a Khmer party or disco. Sometimes you will see them at Emerald Downs or anywhere there. We'll have arranged a bunch of music that will get you up dancing. Please welcome to come and dance. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you for joining us tonight, folks, and thank you to the owner and everyone that works here. We're happy to be here today, so please help support this project. It's going to be towards a good cause, so we're going to need everybody's help and support in this one. Thank you so much for showing up tonight.
「
chơi mà rong nhung sống mà rong sắp bài nhung rung miếng sáng son và mình rong rồi gắt tới sai sụp rong chân xa tạm chất mát na mà rong sắp bài đi đi ngắm đi ngắm lên trong riêng riêng chẳng qua tweet 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 sầu mà chơi mà rong nhung sống mà rong sắp bài nhung đi ngang sang sông và mình rong rồi dắt sai cài. This is a twist style. Wait for the twist. Sống mình chơi bóng rong nhung sống bóng rong sắp bài nhung đi ngang sai sông phải sai sông mà mình đang rong tên rong và sai khác sống mình chơi bóng rong nhung sống bóng rong sắp bài nhung đi ngang sai sông mà mình rong rong nhắc tới sai sống rong cha nước sai tạm chân rắn na mà rong sắp bài đi đi nằm lên trong đây trong riêng riêng chào qua twist 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 rồi mình chơi ngọc rong nhung sống ngọc rong sắp bài nhung đi ngang sang sông mà mình rong rong nhắc sai cào hop rong nhắc sai cào rong nhắc sai cào. Alright, that was the style, kind of twist. Now we have some more original one. I believe it's Rompung is next, right?
Này chia bọn rong buông mà bây đi cái bài trong này Phật sạ tạm ứng căn cùng chỉ một chia đêm trong đất bông phật mà nói cái say bông ơi bông phật rủi ơi bông phật rủi ơi ta thơ bông ơi mình lên tại đua son miền người bông phật thân là si whisky hen là cái rita ọt lối cả ọt lối cả bông thăng sầu tá với cô lê xa mê công Phật đầu ta luôn cắt có miền bạc mân chung bèn kê tê trà so bông Phật bà tay trà so bông Phật bà tay riêng chung bèn kê mình men bọc tình ôn ai ôn nó từ lên bia tòng rồi non bóng đá tay giòn lối kê đường thắp mân chung bèn kỳ tê đường thắp mân chung bèn kỳ tê riêng tay ở trầu chế mình men bọc tình ôn ai.
Don't be shy, you guys. Come up and dance. Let's make a circle right in the middle. This is how we do it. Make a circle right in the middle. Let's dance.
Phật đầu tam lên cắt miền bạc mân chung bèn kê tê trà so bông Phật bàn tay trà so bông Phật bàn tay nè tay bèn kê mình men bông tình ôn ai ôn nó từ lấy bia tòng rồi non bông đá tay giòn lối kê đường thắp mân chung bèn kỳ tê đường រឿងផឹកមិនជុំបែបទីទេអ្នកដែលត្រូវជេរមិនមែនបងទេអូនឯង បងដើរទិញទៅបូរួចជាចូលទៅបបចូលអូនណាយកុំឆ្ងល់តែកើតរោមចោលព្រោះចាញ់ពីឆ្លងរឿងតែមិនខឹកវាទៅស្រីវស្រាញជិះក្បាលដល់ខ្នងសូមទោសអូនម្ដងទៅទៀនហើយត្រែងជឹងឬបៀនទី មិនហ៊ានពីព្រោះខ្លាចគេហ៊ានតែលេងងខ្លាំងដើម្បីពីទាំងប្រហែលមួយលានបើអូនទៀនផងលាហើយយករំទៅឡាំឌីបងផាត់ជិះពួយតាក៏បងដូចជាណា ចូលទៅបបចូលអូនហើយកុំងល់តែកើតរំខ្យល់ព្រោះចាញ់វាឆ្លងព្រោះតែមិនផឹងវាទៅស្រាវស្រាយជឿបាល់ដល់ខ្នងសូមទោសអូនម្ដងប្រទៀនហើយឡែកជំងឺវាឆ្លងគេជុំពាំងបងមិនហ៊ានទីព្រោះខ្លាចគេអៀនតែលេងងាន់ខ្លាំងលុយទីទាំងប្រហែលមួយលានបើអូនទៀនបងលាហើយយកមកទៅឡាំពី Hey, it's great to see everybody get up and dance and enjoy yourself, you guys. គាត់ចិនលោកធំការក៏ដូចមនុស្សបងតែអូនចង់បងប្រមិនយូរញ៉ាំម្ដងបងការពីស្រ័យខាងលំទឹកម៉ែថាបើផឹកសុំកុំឲ្យទៅបងមានស្រីអូនណាយកុំភ័យបងមិនមានថ្មីឲ្យស្រីទៅមេម៉ាយ តែលើយគ្មានសទៅឆ្ងល់បាត់វល់ថាខ្លាចកុំមកខ្មាំងគេឲ្យមានស្នេហ៍បងយកទៅចាយបានជាមានស្រីហើយចាំស្រស់ឲ្យមកសប្បាយ យអស់មួយខែនៅសល់មួយខែ ម៉ែថាបើថាសូមកុំឲ្យតែបងមានត្រីអូនណាយកុំភ័យបងមិនមានថ្មីឲ្យត្រីដល់ពេលម៉ាយបើអ្វីមានសលោកឆ្លើយបាត់មកទៅខាកុំមកខ្មាំងគេឲ្យមានស្នេហ៍កុំយកទៅចាយបានជាមានត្រីហើយញ៉ាំស្រស់ហើយបានសប្បាយអូនណាយកុំស្ដាយអស់មួយខែនៅសល់មួយខែស្រឡាញ់បងទៅបើអីកុំនៅដល់ណាអ្នកណាក៏ថាបងជាបរិបគ្រប់លក្ខអ្វីក៏មានទាំងមានទាំងប្រាំបើខ្លាចបងសាំឲ្យបងធ្វើអ្វីបើធ្វើជាគុំមកសំយ៉ាងដែរបើធ្វើថៅកែអមត្រាក់ចិត្តជួយធ្វើតាមរៀបបងឆ្នោតឲ្យព្រោះព្រៀបធ្វើឲ្យគេគិតថាមកជារីបងប្រាប់បងរៀនបងមានលិសសំកំភ្លេបើធ្វើពួកជេរស់ឡើងក៏បានតែស្រីឬធ្វើប្លុកតង់យីរងមានបងមានលិសសំកំភ្លេបងធ្វើពួកជេរស់ឡើងក៏បានតែស្រីឬធ្វើប្លុកតង់យីពេលរូនចៅអីបើធ្វើបងត្រីក៏ធ្វើបានដែរបងចេះទាំងអស់ការនេះក្រៅពីមួយចោលបងចេះដេកខោបាក់អោស៊ីក្លូក៏បានមុខបងប្រពៀនចិត្តមាយានគួររកអានបើធ្វើទេហ៊ានស្បាំងមិនចាញ់គេបើលោកស្រាក៏បងមិនចាញ់គេដែរណាขอบคุณยี่สุราเสรปีมุ่นสโลคนสไลไอ้เรื่องสโลบังสระสโลบังสระสโลบังใจหมดที่ไหนสโลบังใส่สโลบังออกมือจีบ ជីស្រាឬស្រី លោកនេះប្រប្រោតើស្រីដូចផែនដីគ្មានថ្ងៃអីចឹងដែរស្នេហាស្នេហ៍ប្រប្រោតែកូនចិត្តខ្លួនស្រីដូចរូបខ្ញុំពីដើមក្នុងបទស្នេហាប្រវត្តិហូរជីវិតមួយពេលវេលាហូរដួងចិត្តស្នេហាអត់ត្រូវបំផ្លាញជីវិតមែនបើត្រូវបត្រាសប្បាយពីជាងណាដូចទៅព្រៀងមិនរៀនខំរហូតបើបត្រាក៏មិនតែមួយថ្ងៃបើត្រូវបត្រីគ្មានថ្ងៃដែលស្វាងទីបើបត្រាជឿងាយកែបើជឿនឹងស្នេហ៍ជឿនឹងកែមិនជាឡើយបាទខ្ញុំបត្រាលោកនេះប្រប្រោបើគ្មានស្រីដូចផែនដីគ្មានថ្ងៃអញ្ចឹងដែរអាហាស្នេហ៍ប្រតែអូនចិត្តខ្លួនស្រីដូចរូបខ្ញុំពីដើមដល់បទស្នេហាប្រវត្តិមួយជីវិតអូនពេលវេលាអូនដួងចិត្តស្នេហាអត់ត្រូវបំផ្លាញជីវិតមែនខ្ញុំខ្លាចហើយស្រីអត់ធ្វើឲ្យរឿងបើត្រូវបត្រាសប្បាយជាស្រាដូចទឹកភ្លៀងមិនរៀងខំរហូតបើបត្រាក៏មិនតែមួយថ្ងៃបើត្រូវបត្រាគ្មានថ្ងៃណាស្វាងទីបើបត្រាជឿងាយកែបើជឿនឹងស្នេហ៍ជឿនឹងកែមិនជាឡើយអរគុណครับผมតាមបុកអរគុណទីជាឲ្យយើងទីសុខហើយឡើងឡើងទៅមកហើយតាមនេះខ្ញុំគិតទៅរងយូរហើយកុំខំយកតែចិត្តឲ្យបងទីបីយកកាយច្រើនណាស់ដូចយកទីសៀវយកតែចិត្តព្រៀងយកទៅទីនៃក្រុមទាំងមិនមើលបានណាឲ្យជ្រុំមកជួនទីក្រុមទាំងក្នុងកំសំណាស់ហើយតែកាយមកយកទៅទុកយកទីមានបុគ្គលដល់ដល់តែទាំងនឹងមកកាន់ទៅឲ្យអវយាវ័តព្រោះនឹងយកទៅលោរាអត់ទៅអត់មកតែបុគ្គលអត់មកទៅយកប្រាក់ជឿខ្ញុំផ្លេចទីកាន់ទាំងតាមបាត់ទៅជាចូលចិត្តឆ្លងអត់មកទៅយកឡើងបានគាត់ខាងណាគិតមើលទៅយ៉ាងពីយ៉ាងយើងទៅតាមទុកនឹងគាត់ឲ្យប្រាក់ជឿចាំគាត់ទៅយើងទៅទូទីទៅរកតាមលេងបែកវិញមកផ្លែដាក់អាចថាបានពីទៅអូយសំខាន់ហើយប្រពន្ធគឺទាំងកាសើទូសាភុយខៃថៃពីបែកទៅអត់មានបញ្ហាគេរកមកធ្វើការចេញពីខាងឯងបាយគូអមរំចាបុកអរគុណទីជាឲ្យយើងទីសុខតែឡើងមកទៅណាបងឯងតែបងនឹងណានេះយកទៀតទៅរលឹងឲ្យខកខំចាំតែចាំឲ្យរបស់គេទៅចុះកាយខាងណាឆ្នាំនេះអរគុណទីសុខឲ្យយើងទីសៀចង់បាត់ខ្ញុំត្រៀមចង់ប្រប្រទៅលើប្រទាំងមិនមើលได้បានណាក្នុងឲ្យជ្រុំមកឈ្មោះទីប្រទាំងមុនថៃសំណាហូបបានកែលេខបយកប្រពុតយកទៅពុតពួកយកដល់ដល់តតែយ៉ាងនឹងមិនកាន់ទៅឲ្យអវយាវ័តជួយខ្ញុំបាត់ ត់បត់តត់ក្នុងក្រៅជើងនៅផ្លែទីការគិតតាមបានគិតជាចោលដល់គិតចុចស្វាយអត់មកទៅចូលឡើងតាគាត់តែការសាក់ទឹកមើលទៅពីជើងយើងពុកសាគុំទៅគាត់ឲ្យតែជើងចាក់សំទុំសើទៅទុំពីលេររកមកលេតែគេមកលែងណាស់អាចខែបានពីពើអូយសុំបាត់ហើយប្រពន្ធពុកខាងសើពុកសាខូចទៅតែពីពេលពើអត់មានបញ្ហាcô thủ khoa đã cho mọi người con áo được không ấy muôn ơi chiếc u Việt Nam vì chiếc muôn ơi chiếc u Việt Nam chiêm chân từ một ngày cha trôn lúc cha tay ai xây nhận sma chiêm chân từ một ngày cha trôn lúc cha tay ai xây nhận sma sau hóm cha đôi cánh nhà ơi đã ra chân đôi cánh nhà ơi đã ra chân kèn riêng ơi đôi xuôi tiêu tôi tìm cả nhà kèn riêng ơi đôi xuôi tiêu tôi tìm cả nhà riêng xóm ôm cha đôi cả nhà ơi đã ra chàng đôi cả nhà ơi đã ra chàng con sông tâm sông na chi qua ôn say không rõ
Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ วยพรเมื่อมันจากเป็นตราโอ้ท่านจากเพียงเล่นน้ำน้อยโอ้สมความจะมวยเข้าตามาเต้มาเต้สายสมรองเจียมวยพอ
and then I'm going to send you to the back where you can choose which prize you like. Some refreshers of what we have a month's class for the little gym in West Seattle, so if you have little ones between the ages of 1 and 12, there's a month pass from classes. We've got a Patagonia backpack and hat valued at $160. We've got eyelash tinting services valued at $400 from Beau Lavish Spa. Some really cool prizes. So here we go. Oh yes. Before we do that, we want to let's give another round of applause for our singers who are on stage. And after the raffle, don't leave because we have another set of music coming your way. The Royal Crown. Yes. First ticket, number 482-541. Ticket 582. Oh, 482-541. Anyone?
Ticket, guys. Last three numbers 541. Any winner? Any winner?
Going once.
I get to take it home if nobody wins.
Last ticket, last three digits, 541. Going once, twice. All right, new ticket. Ticket number 482-342. Last three digits, 342. Going, woo! Okay. Next ticket,
342 is good to go. So she's handing it back?
Yep.
Okay,
And we'll head to the back and
Claim
we'll
your
pick out your
prize.
prize.
You don't ever win anything.